Welcome back to the 5th episode of Before Passing Go podcast. I'm here, your host, Michael, joined today by Andrew Nguyen and Stefano Pucciano.
What's going on? Oh, and the last name too. What's going on? Guys, we're finally into the warm weather. How do you feel? Do you feel that seasonal depression disappearing? Because it was warm yesterday and today.
There's an acronym for that, SAD.
How so? Tell me about that.
It's a seasonal adjustment. I don't know what it stands for, but a lot of people are being diagnosed with it now.
Disorder?
Yeah, some kind of seasonal adjustment disorder.
I feel it. What, you telling me you guys don't feel it? Trapped inside, unless you guys are skiers and stuff like that.
Well, I'm going away soon, so I'm going to be in sunshine and
Where are you going?
beaches.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Vietnam and
Whoa.
Japan. Yeah.
Oh, man. Japan is my number one bucket list.
Yeah.
Have you ever been
Multiple times.
to Vietnam and Japan?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Beautiful spot. Like lots of Japan has amazing food,
So
amazing
now,
scenery.
everyone knows about Japan. No one knows about Vietnam. What's the allure for you?
I think it's just the culture is so different from what we're used to every day here. The way of living, the way they interact, it's just a slower pace. I feels like a slower pace, whereas here is like go all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to Vietnam too, Mike?
In Andrew's suitcase. No, like yesterday we had such nice weather. It finally brought people outside. I came on my street and all the neighbors are outside, and it's like, wow, I haven't seen them in probably like 6 months or more, because we all hibernate and we become antisocial in the winter. The kids can come out, the neighbors come out, you're socializing, you're walking. It's so important, that good weather.
It really is. So, guys, what have you been up to? What's going on in the world of, Boardwalk Insurance? What's going on
With Pinky in the Brain?
with Pinky in the Brain? What's going on? What are you guys up to lately?
Every day we're trying to take over the world.
Yeah?
Every day.
What about you, Andrew?
What are we doing tomorrow night?
What have you been up to, Andrew?
Same thing. Just helping Mike take over the world.
Now, are you guys going to be taking over the world with AI? Because, you see that segue? Because in the insurance world, there's a lot of regulations and no regulations. So when it comes to AI, what's your interpretation of it? Is it regulated? Is it not regulated? Can you use it? Can you not use it? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a bit of a gray area because we don't really know what's the regulations around using AI agents. Relying on machines now to execute certain tasks that we have people execute tasks on, and especially licensing and regulatory bodies always want someone licensed handling and dealing with the public. So that's just a big question mark right now. I think it's how are companies like brokerages like ours implement AI agents into our workflow. To what extent it's allowed to communicate with the public, or if at all, and what regulation exists around this. So there's a bit of work that I think needs to be done, and it's so new that it's evolving very rapidly, right? And brokerages are left, I think, questioning, how am I going to implement this new technology? And if I do, how am I going to stay within the regulatory framework?
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. And then the agents is relatively fresh because AI has been, around now for a few years, but now we're getting into the agents, the realm of the agentic agents where they can perform functions. There was a recent study a survey done by Canadian Underwriter, and they surveyed brokerages, and apparently of the brokerages surveyed, 30% are currently adopting and investing into AI. So it's relatively low percentage on the broker side. So that's kind of why Andrew and I want to elaborate on that, because there's a lot of regulation around dealing with the consumer, as Andrew mentioned. There's governing bodies, there's FSRA, which is at the federal level, and then there's governing bodies in every single province governing brokers on how they have to be licensed in order to communicate and in order to discuss coverages with the consumer, the end user.
You have to be licensed?
Have to.
Is there any way around it? Because I know AI, ChatGPT and all that, I don't know, is it regulated that they cannot give you insurance, period?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, because now you can have an AI agent communicating with a client and advising them on coverage. At that point, it becomes a very gray area because, this agent doesn't hold a license.
Yeah, and I think it's a big concern is essentially, AI hallucinating and during the course of its interaction, it makes some promises, or it does some something that essentially put the obligation now on the carrier and the broker to deliver. I off the top of my head, I think there's cases where companies would offer something and the chatbot, I guess, would misinterpret it and essentially hallucinate and made a promise to the consumer, and they have to honor that. So and this is something that's a big deal in insurance, because when you honor something in insurance, it can cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions, right? If there's a loss that can occur.
Well, when you say honor, does honor mean it has to be in digital or written form? Something that is tangible that they can hold? Or is it more than that?
It's more than that. It's an obligation. It's a promise, right? Like insurance is all about, it's a promise, a contract. And when you're buying something, think about it. If I promise to pay you if something occur, and I have the conditions written out, and if I can't articulate that to you properly, and you misunderstood any points, and you're under the impression that you're covered for a particular incident, and you're not, that can be devastating to you.
So then what happens there is brokers, I don't know if the consumer is aware of this, but brokers and brokerages carry errors and omissions insurance. So in the event that Andrew mentioned, if there's actually any kind of misunderstanding with coverage, or something was done in error on the brokerage side, they have insurance to cover the consumer for that loss, as long as it's proven that there was an error or omission on the side of the broker. So what happens with AI? AI won't have this errors and omissions coverage.
Why not? Why? Of course it will. Why wouldn't it have errors and omissions?
Because how errors and omissions works is you have to be a licensed broker or agent, and you have to actually be named on the policy. So that broker is named on the policy, this errors and omissions policy. How do you name an AI agent on there?
And it has to be underwritten, right? Like someone has to insure that broker or agent. And how do you underwrite an AI agent that essentially can go rogue? It has
exactly.
You just don't know how to underwrite it. So underwriters will have a hard time, giving errors and omission insurance to a machine or code.
Essentially, do you think it's going to get more intelligent though as time progresses, where it'll be indistinguishable from what you guys do?
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think as the discussion of AGI is coming along, and I think there's a couple discussions out there expecting it to be here within the next couple of years
Already?
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, Elon Musk and they seem to think AGI is just around the corner. And if that's the case, then yes, it's gonna be very real, and you're not gonna be able to distinguish between a human and machines.
But you're in full integration. Isn't Boardwalk fully integrated, or wants to be fully integrated into the AI platform, so this way you don't fall behind? Because some insurance companies are ancient, but you guys seem to be at the forefront of technology.
Yeah. So there's a lot of exciting things that we're doing here at Boardwalk. Some of the things we're doing is essentially involves a lot of AI. Like one thing that we're very proud of is the platform that we built. With the vision dating back 5 years ago, this platform allowed us to have full control of our data, which basically prepares us for AI, right? So AI needs a lot of good data. You need to have data in a format that it can understand, and essentially some of the things that we're doing now essentially reduce the time for brokers to, like, for example, do data entry, right? To give them a second set of eyes on things. And some of our more junior producers, they would have the support of AI in terms of gaining additional knowledge or having some guidance there. But what Mike and I really focus on is building those guardrails for AI, because AI, it can go off the cusp, right? Like if you're not careful, it can say random things, it can do random things, right? So you have to really put AI into this box and force it to operate within this box in order for it to really excel.
So essentially, you guys are taking AI, and AI assists the junior brokers, but you are essentially watching the AI. So it's like a 3-person tier for now.
Yeah. So the philosophy from the beginning at Boardwalk was to really supercharge the humans, the human element of it with technology. And we knew that AI was coming. So as Andrew mentioned, we set that foundation for it. This is essentially what the technology that's available today is allowing us to do a better job at this and be more effective at it. So we're still relying on, the agent, the broker that's having this relationship, having this communication with the client, overseeing everything. But AI, what AI has allowed us to do, and now AI agents, it's allowed us to expedite and enhance that, where we can now really take away those low-hanging fruit. From the beginning, we always wanted to take away the administrative burden from a broker so they could focus on the relationship and the responsiveness and the expertise.
Yep.
And as Andrew mentioned, and you mentioned, Stefano, as well, the junior producers, this brings the knowledge to them now. So now a junior producer can ramp up, I would say 2 times to 3 times faster than they could historically, because now they have the resources at their disposal.
And you just lit up the second topic where I wanted to talk about literally right now, digital insurance platforms versus traditional brokerages. Now, why don't you explain to me, Andrew, about that?
So there's, like a digital platform being, being able to buy insurance from the start to finish, a quote, bind, and issue as well. Online is essentially something that blew up during COVID, right? People couldn't leave, so they purchase insurance online, don't have to see anybody. But we're starting to see that change a little bit, where it's going back to a bit more traditional in a way where people want to deal with a broker or an agent, right? And they want to have that face-to-face interaction or that phone call. So
especially in certain lines of business, like these heterogeneous lines of business that are a little bit more high touch, more complicated.
Yeah.
Continue on, Andrew.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming back to that, interactions and that face-to-face interaction that's so important to all of us, and having something that's completely online, and entrusting your business, after going through a 5-minute form, just doesn't feel right for some people.
There's one company that has been doing this for quite some time, and it's very impersonal. Bel Air Direct. Bel Air Direct has always done the online approach. I've used it in the past a few times, but I feel like it's very cold and emotionless, where I do not feel like it's going to support me at all. But yet they seem to be successful with that platform. Do you think that that's of the old way, and now the new way is that interactive human touch?
Well,
Optimized interactive human touch.
yeah, like you want to optimize that, but with something like Bel Air, it's just kind of, for the record, it's more personal insurance, personal lines. So auto, usually someone who's a new driver, or someone who's just purchased a home and they don't know where to go. Bel Air Direct is kind of like a good solution for them, right? But what I think, Boardwalk really focus on is more commercial, mid-market, type of businesses where they need that tailored approach.
Sure.
Sometimes they need to know what's covered and what's not.
It's like a travel agent.
Yeah.
When you're doing something complicated, you want that travel agent to kind of guide you through all the details.
Yeah,
essentially,
that's a great analogy. If you're going for a weekend local trip to a hotel, it's safe to use Expedia.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you use Expedia? But if you want to plan like a 7-week adventure through Europe,
or Vietnam and Japan,
or Vietnam, and see all the local sites, and make sure you're checking everything off, staying in the best hotels, experiencing the best restaurants, you kind of want that guidance and that expertise.
Exactly.
Now, the other one is emerging risks, cyber, of course, number one for almost every business, climate and evolving liabilities. Now, why don't we take it one step at a time, guys? What are some of the emerging risks that you guys are seeing the bells go off in your head and saying, we might have to look into this a bit more?
One of the biggest things we just talked about is AI. At least into
You're that worried
cyber,
about it, really?
Right? Cyber, I think, is crucial right now for all kinds of businesses, large, small, any businesses. I think that touches any kind of computer, phones, or anything that's connected to some sort of network right now is absolutely critical, because AI is a tool that makes us more productive, and makes us more as it become more real. It's going to become a threat, because malicious individuals can use this technology to hack. They can use this technology to perform social engineering attacks on individuals, and these things will become more and more real, where businesses can't tell if it's real or fake, right? And what does that mean? That means a cyber risk that exists, and that risk is growing every single day as AI evolves. That risk is getting more and more dangerous.
That's the biggest exposure facing businesses right now.
Cyber.
Cyber. Historically we've addressed always property liability. What are your third party liability exposures? But
There
this
you
is
go.
this is the newest exposure that is, it has not, in my opinion, been fully addressed yet. It's addressed on larger businesses because they have the resources and the team to deploy to purchase these products. But smaller businesses, I would say 7 out of 10 do not have, even maybe 8 out of 10 do not have cyber liability policies. And
8 out of 10.
I'd say 80% don't have them on small businesses.
Yeah.
And
But you have to educate
Yeah.
the client, because the client is probably like I am. I'm like, I don't understand what this has to do with me, but I guess it has everything to do with them.
that's the biggest challenge.
I mean,
the
data
education.
is the new property, is the new gold, right? Like, that's very
So,
important.
so
very
when you guys
valuable.
insure a business, okay, how does the discussion of, hey, by the way, is your data secure? Like, are you susceptible to cyber threats? Are you having this discussion?
every single one of our producers, have this discussion after, a discussion about their property and liability. Once that's protected, it naturally goes into, the product of cyber, right? Is there anything else you want to add there, Mike?
The other one I think is directors and officers liability. And
What is that?
That covers the directors and the officers for any wrongful acts as in that position of power for an organization. And there's also an extension called employment practices liability that covers them for any kind of employment liability that arises: wrongful dismissal, sexual harassment, discrimination.
Whoa.
So
You guys insure that?
yeah, we insure that as well. That's another one
It's
that's
pretty important.
Absolutely no one talks about that.
Yeah, that's another good one, Mike, because really, a lot of these individuals that start businesses, they don't think about it, but one wrong move can cost them their asset because, they can be sued personally.
Okay, wait. Pause everything right now. This is crazy. This is like highlight reel. This is clickbait. This is like going into one of the teasers. You're telling me that in the event, of course, the unforeseen event that sexual harassment could happen in the workplace, somehow you guys are there to protect. How? Like who? What? Tell me.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be necessarily the business owner. It could be, but it can also be an employee of the business owner that performs this act of sexual harassment. And now the business is being sued for that. The employment practices liability would defend the business and pay any kind of settlement costs in the event of such claim.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like other than sexual harassment, there's a multitude of things. Like if you have shareholders, if you're a SaaS company that just raised, $5 million, you have obligations to investors at that point.
Sure.
And if you don't, fulfill those obligations, you can be sued. The business can be sued, and the officers and directors can be sued.
What?
So now, not only are they going after the company, they're going also after the personal asset of the individuals that are being sued. So it's a very important coverage, I think, for any company that's raising capital, especially any companies
And that has a board of directors
board
too.
of directors, exactly. And that's part of the due diligence process actually for a lot of these tech companies that raise capital.
So here's what I'm going to say. We have one more line of topic for this episode before we sign off. But before we do, for anyone out there that thinks insurance is boring and insurance is a one-directional thing, you guys have such a spider web of issues that could come up that you have to cover even the act of human, mistakes. You have to be on top of that to say to that Fortune 500 company, say, hey, we're here to protect you even in the event someone wants to take advantage of you. Or vice versa, whatever the case may be. So then that brings me to the last topic. How client expectations are shifting in real time. Why don't you tell me about this whole real-time shift that's happening?
Yeah, so with the advent of technology, obviously, I always talk about this. Expectations in terms of turnaround times have increased drastically. Whereas in the past, there was more, I guess, patience in terms of having things fulfilled. But now in this new day and age, everyone wants everything now. We're in a now generation. I want it fulfilled immediately. I want transparency as well. I want to be kept apprised of what's happening as a consumer.
Yeah.
I always talk to Andrew about the Uber. I use the Uber example. You know when your food's going to be delivered to the minute. You know who's delivering it. You know their rating. You know everything. So people want that kind of that experience in different industries. So we're experiencing that on the insurance side of things, on the brokering side, and that's why we've really doubled down on bringing AI and automation into our brokerage.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. I think people just want to be kept apprised of the process. They don't want to be kept in the dark anymore, because think about like what you said with the Uber app. When you place an order for, say, a coffee or something like that, and you want to see when it's getting picked up, where it is it on the way? Where is it on the way? People want that through any of their service providers.
So how are we delivering that here at Boardwalk, Andrew?
So I think it's just
Using the tools.
Yeah, we want to keep that human touch. We want to deliver that experience where someone is actually reaching out to you, right? And keeping people updated on, say, a quote. Where is it? Even if we're working hard behind the scenes, a lot of the time, a lot of brokers just kind of work on it, but they keep the clients in the dark. Instead, we take the approach that even if there is no updates, we want to be one step ahead. We want to, advise the client at that point, let them know where it's at before they even ask the question. That's the key.
And we want to fulfill it faster as well. We want to fulfill their order quicker.
For any other guest that comes on after this podcast, they're going to have some big shoes to fill. This is by far one of the best ones we've ever had. It's spectacular. You guys covered everything from the important stuff to the maybe missed stuff. I want you guys to leave people with one thing now. I want one line, one thing that you could tell businesses in the event that they're not properly covered. What would you tell them if they came to you and say, look, what do I need to prepare myself for? What would you tell them? Let's start with you, Andrew.
Good question. I think a lot of people need to prepare themselves for those scenarios that they think are not important today, right? Things that, like we talked about cyber. It's a key coverage that protects you tomorrow. And people don't like to think about what happens tomorrow. What are the bad things that happens tomorrow? Like I said, it's, I mentioned before on one of the other podcasts is that, when we're in a good market, and like the stock market everything's going up, people are happy. People just take turn a blind eye on everything. They don't look at the risk of the downside. But when it happens, that's when it hits the hardest. And if you're prepared for it, you're going to weather the storm.
What happened yesterday does not necessarily translate to what happens tomorrow, to summarize what Andrew said. But the thing I would leave off with is I would ask your broker, what are the exposures my business is facing in today's climate and in today's environment? And allow your broker to educate you on some of the exposures, because your broker should be an expert in your industry and in the products that address your industry. So you can ask them that question and they'll bring these exposures to surface for you.
Absolutely sensational, guys. You just hit this one out of the park. You allowed me to pass Boardwalk. The pass Boardwalk with pass go. Guys, now the last thing we have to do is tell them where they can find you. Andrew, where can they find you?
At My Boardwalk.
Beautiful. And Mike?
My Boardwalk as well on Instagram, website, and LinkedIn. You can find both Andrew and I on LinkedIn. We're very active there. Andrew Nguyen and Michael Malfa.
Fantastic. Until next time, gentlemen, we'll see you later.
Thank you for having me.